The trade tensions between the United States and China, initiated during President Donald Trump's first term, have intensified following his re-election in February 2025. In February 2025, President Trump imposed a 10% tariff on all Chinese imports, citing concerns over illegal immigration and the influx of fentanyl into the United States. In retaliation, China announced tariffs of 15% on American coal and liquefied natural gas, and 10% on crude oil, agricultural machinery, and certain vehicles. Additionally, China initiated an antitrust investigation into Google and imposed export controls on critical minerals, including tungsten and bismuth-related materials, essential for various industries. Beyond direct US-China trade disputes, China's measures have begun to impact third-party countries, notably Japan. In response to Japan's restrictions on exporting chip equipment to China, Beijing has threatened economic retaliation. This includes potential limitations on Japan's exports to the United States, particularly in sectors reliant on Chinese-supplied materials. Before discussing China's measures against Japan, let's first examine its global ban on critical materials and its restrictions on the United States. China's recent export restrictions on critical materials used in semiconductor and high-tech manufacturing have created significant disruptions in global supply chains. These restrictions, while officially aimed at limiting US access to these materials, have had an indirect but profound impact on Japan, one of the world's largest consumers and processors of semiconductor raw materials. Because Japan relies heavily on Chinese-supplied gallium, germanium, and graphite, its ability to manufacture and export finished high-tech products to the United States has been compromised. These restrictions not only increase production costs for Japanese manufacturers, but also introduce bureaucratic hurdles, as Beijing now requires companies to obtain export licenses for certain materials used in products bound for the United States. The effects of these restrictions extend far beyond Japan, affecting the supply chains of major American companies like Apple, Tesla, and Broadcom, all of whom depend on Japanese suppliers for critical components. China has long held a near monopoly on several essential semiconductor materials, giving it immense leverage over the global technology industry. The latest export restrictions target several key minerals, the most important being gallium. China currently dominates the global supply of gallium, controlling an overwhelming 98% of worldwide production. This strategic metal is essential for a wide range of advanced technologies, including high-frequency radar systems, 5G telecommunications, power electronics, and next-generation semiconductors. Due to its critical role in these industries, gallium has become an increasingly valuable commodity, especially amid rising geopolitical tensions and supply chain uncertainties. In recent months, gallium prices have surged dramatically. Over the past 2 months alone, the price has risen by 23%, reaching $640 per kilogram. This increase is part of a larger trend, as gallium prices have more than doubled since July 2023, largely driven by heightened demand, export restrictions, and global efforts to secure alternative sources. The growing reliance on gallium for cutting-edge technology, coupled with China's near monopoly over its production, has intensified concerns about supply vulnerabilities, prompting countries to explore diversification strategies and alternative sources of this critical material. Germanium. China is a dominant player in the global germanium market, supplying 60% of the world's total production. This rare and strategically important material is essential for a variety of high-tech applications, including infrared optics, fiber optic communication networks, and advanced space technologies. Its unique properties make it indispensable for military-grade night vision systems, satellite components, and high-speed data transmission, further cementing its importance in defense, aerospace, and telecommunications sectors. Since mid-2024, the price of germanium has experienced a sharp increase, doubling in value due to rising demand, supply chain constraints, and geopolitical factors affecting global trade. This dramatic price surge has led to significant cost increases across key industries that rely on germanium-based technologies, intensifying concerns about supply stability and prompting efforts to secure alternative sources or develop substitute materials. As China continues to exert control over its production, countries and corporations worldwide are facing growing pressure to mitigate potential supply risks and ensure long-term access to this critical material. China plays a dominant role in the global graphite supply chain, refining over 90% of the world's total graphite production. This critical material is an essential component in electric vehicle batteries, particularly for nodes in lithium-ion batteries, which power the vast majority of modern electric vehicles. As demand for electric vehicles surges worldwide, graphite's importance in the clean energy transition continues to grow. The heavy dependence on Chinese graphite poses significant risks, especially for Japan and South Korea, whose battery industries rely almost entirely on Chinese supplies. Any disruptions, whether due to trade restrictions, geopolitical tensions, or supply chain bottlenecks, could have serious consequences for electric vehicle production in these countries. Given the increasing global push toward electrification and energy security, efforts to diversify graphite sources, develop synthetic alternatives, and establish domestic refining capabilities are becoming urgent priorities for major automakers and battery manufacturers. China dominates the global tungsten market, producing over 80% of the world's total supply. This rare and highly durable metal is essential for aerospace engineering, military applications, and advanced machining tools, making it a critical resource for industries that require extreme hardness, high temperature resistance, and superior strength. Tungsten is widely used in jet engines, armor-piercing ammunition, missile components, and precision-cutting tools, making it indispensable for both defense and high-tech manufacturing. With China recently placing export controls on tungsten, global supply chains are facing mounting challenges. Japanese companies specializing in aircraft components and industrial machinery are particularly affected, as they depend heavily on Chinese tungsten for the production of high-performance alloys, cutting tools, and specialized equipment. The restrictions have led to increased concerns over material shortages, rising production costs, and the need for alternative supply sources. As a result, companies and governments are now actively seeking ways to reduce dependency on China, explore recycling options, and invest in new tungsten mining projects to secure long-term supply stability. China's tightened export restrictions on gallium and germanium have already had a severe impact on Japan, significantly reducing the country's ability to secure these critical materials, as Japan relies heavily on these metals for its high-tech industries. The supply shortage has intensified in recent months, leading to mounting concerns across key manufacturing sectors. Japan's imports of gallium from China have plunged by 85% since Beijing imposed its initial export controls in August 2023, severely disrupting supply chains. The price of gallium outside China has surged by 23% since December 2024, reflecting the growing scarcity and rising competition among global buyers. Germanium prices have doubled in just 6 months, significantly increasing production costs for Japanese manufacturers, especially in optics, telecommunications, and semiconductor fabrication. As one of the world's largest consumers of gallium and germanium, Japan is facing major challenges in securing alternative sources, particularly in its semiconductor, automotive, and electronics industries. These materials are crucial for producing advanced microchips, high-performance camera lenses, fiber optic networks, and infrared sensors, all of which are vital for defense, telecommunications, and next-generation technologies. With supply disruptions escalating, Japanese manufacturers are now exploring alternative suppliers, ramping up recycling efforts, and investing in domestic production capabilities to mitigate long-term risks. However, until sustainable alternatives are secured, the country's high-tech sectors remain vulnerable to China's export policies, highlighting the need for a more diversified and resilient supply chain. Japan is home to some of the world's most important semiconductor companies, including Tokyo Electron, Sumitomo Electric, and Renesas Electronics. These firms rely heavily on gallium arsenide and germanium wafers, both of which are now under China's control. Japanese automakers, including Toyota, Nissan, and Honda, are seeing disruptions in electric vehicle battery production due to China's graphite and gallium export bans. Without these materials, battery performance and production volumes could be compromised. Advanced optical and communication technologies companies like Sony and Canon, which manufacture infrared sensors and fiber optic components, are struggling with rising costs as germanium prices soar. Given these constraints, Japan's ability to supply components to major US firms like Apple, Tesla, and Broadcom is now at risk. Let's take a quick pause. If you've enjoyed the video so far, could we ask a small favor? Hitting the like button helps us reach a broader audience, and sharing your thoughts or feedback in the comments makes an even bigger impact. Thank you for watching. Now, let's dive back in. China's new extraterritorial export control regime has added a major layer of complexity for Japanese companies, particularly those exporting products containing Chinese-sourced gallium and germanium to the United States. Under this policy, Japanese firms must now seek approval from Beijing before shipping affected products to the US, creating significant trade obstacles and amplifying geopolitical tensions. Key challenges for Japanese companies include unclear thresholds and compliance issues. It remains uncertain how much gallium or germanium a product can contain before triggering China's export restrictions, making compliance a challenge. Many affected materials are embedded deep within complex multi-tier supply chains, making it difficult for companies to track and verify their sourcing, increased bureaucratic burdens and trade disruptions. Japanese manufacturers must now report and obtain approval from China before exporting semiconductor components, telecommunications equipment, and other sensitive products to the US. This requirement introduces delays, additional costs, and regulatory uncertainty, creating friction in Japan-US trade relations. If China enforces strict controls, it could completely block Japan from exporting certain semiconductor components to the US, triggering severe supply chain disruptions. Such a move would directly impact key industries, including semiconductor manufacturing, defense technology, and advanced electronics, forcing Japan to seek alternative material sources or risk production slowdowns. A senior Japanese official described China's move as some sort of declaration of economic war as it extends Beijing's influence beyond traditional trade restrictions and into foreign supply chains. This policy not only disrupts Japan's industrial sector, but also raises broader concerns about China's growing control over critical technology materials, prompting Japan, the US, and allied nations to accelerate efforts in securing alternative supply routes and reducing reliance on Chinese resources. Japan is one of the largest suppliers of high-tech components to the US, with $148 billion in exports to the US in 2023. The new Chinese restrictions threaten to choke off this supply chain by making it difficult for Japanese firms to ship high-tech goods that contain even trace amounts of restricted materials. Key effects on US industries: Apple and Broadcom. Apple's reliance on Japanese-made semiconductors could result in supply chain delays and price hikes. Broadcom's optical communication laser, critical for 5G networks, may be affected. Tesla and the EV industry. Tesla's motors require gallium-based semiconductors, meaning potential production slowdowns. EV battery manufacturers may struggle with graphite shortages. US defense and aerospace. The US military's reliance on infrared optics and radar technologies makes it highly vulnerable to shortages of germanium and gallium. As a result, these restrictions are not just an economic issue, but also a national security concern for both Japan and the US. To better understand the importance of this news, let's delve deeper into the trade volume between Japan and the US. In 2023, Japan's exports to the United States amounted to approximately $145.13 billion, representing about 20% of Japan's total export volume. This substantial trade underscores the robust economic ties between the two nations, with Japan consistently ranking among the top exporters to the US. The automotive sector stands out as a cornerstone of this bilateral trade. In 2023, Japan exported vehicles and related parts valued at $51.6 billion to the US. This category includes passenger cars, trucks, buses, and various automotive components. Japanese automotive brands have established a significant presence in the US market, renowned for their quality and reliability. Machinery and mechanical appliances also constitute a significant portion of Japan's exports to the US, totaling $33.47 billion in 2023. This segment encompasses industrial machinery, engines, and mechanical tools essential to various US industries, reflecting Japan's advanced engineering capabilities. The electrical and electronic equipment sector contributed $15.11 billion to Japan's exports to the US in 2023. This category covers a wide range of products, from consumer electronics like televisions and cameras to critical components.